Alright, hey everyone, it's Steve from Ride Chicago. Today, I'm going to be writing the Illinois state test for you guys. So here's the test box. We got to go over just a couple quick things before we get started. So there's a total of 4 parts to the state tests. So we'll go through just like an examiner would and talk you guys through these. So part 1, we're lined up right here at this first tee. Part 1 is an offset cone weave, starting to the right side. So we'll show you why it's important to go on the right side of the cone weave as opposed to the left side, because it will be wrong. So we'll go ahead. We'll show you the offset cone weave. Couple things to note: this yellow line right here, this yellow box. If you leave this yellow box at any point in the state tests, other than the examiner telling you to relocate to the next tee, such as part 2 tee or part 3 and 4 tee, if you do that, that's an automatic fail. If you hit too many cones in the cone weave, that can be a fail. If you hit too many cones in general, put a foot down. These are all they add up. They're points. They add up. You can get up to, I believe it's 11. So we're going to hop on the motorcycle. I'm going to show you guys part 1 of the state test cone weave. Okay. One important thing to note: if you're going to take this at your local DMV, they're going to make sure that you put your visor down. So I'll make sure I do that for you guys. Alright, so you're going to take off. You can give it a step or two, and then you're going to just go ahead and do the cone weave, starting to the right side. Now, I'm using a little bit of rear brake, and that is just going to help smooth it out. And then, for parts 1 and 2, you stop with your front tire in this white box right here that you guys can see. So there's part 1. So I'm going to reline up at part 1. I'm going to show you guys what happens if you go to the left side of the cones. So it's kind of funny, but this is what people do sometimes, and they'll fail. So here's what they do: they take off, they start to the left side, and then it's just a straight line. People wonder, oh, I did that so easily. Probably did it wrong then, unfortunately. So one more time the right way. Let's do this one more time the right way. So this is all in first gear. And then you got to remind yourself of a big head turn to get to this white box so you don't go outside the yellow box, the yellow state test box. So after a few minutes, they'll probably say, alright, that's good, why don't you line up for part 2? So let's go ahead and do that. You guys will notice that the conditions outside right now, they're kind of damp. This is okay. Sometimes they'll test you. If there is any sign of puddle or anything on the parking lot, they will instantly just say, no, that's it. No more testing for the day. So let's go ahead and shut the bike off. I'll show you guys a little bit of what part 2 is going to have to offer. Part 2 is slightly more complicated than part 1. So part 2 is a 90-degree turn to the right. So that's this 90-degree turn. So if you guys can see this, I'll back up a little bit. But this is all you have. You have from the red Nighthawk to basically that orange cone to begin your 90-degree turn. So your 90-degree turns here. You're going to cut across over to these blue lines over here. So we're just going to kind of walk it for a second. So this blue line on the right, you're going to make a U-turn off this one and between this one. So between those 2 blue lines, that's what you have to make your U-turn to the left. And then once again, stopping with your front tire in the white box. One common mistake is all this stuff right here. None of it matters. So if you're in part 2 of the state test, the only thing that matters is part 2. Part 3, part 4, part 1, they don't matter in part 2. So, quick note, let's go ahead and just do it. Okay, great. So we're gonna go ahead and just do it. So remember, we're gonna go outside, head turn, outside, inside, outside, path of travel. And then coming up to your U-turn, you're gonna do a huge head turn. And then you're gonna go ahead and stop with your front tire in the white box. So here, I'll go ahead and show you guys a few common mistakes. When you're in that white box, they're probably gonna be taking a few notes. So you wanna stay in that white box until the examiner says to leave. Another great way to fail is if you don't listen to the examiner's instruction. So if you just take off and go to the next part because you already know it because you watched this video, they're probably not going to be so happy with you. So try not to do that. Just wait until the examiner tells you, all right, line up at that T outside the box for part 3 over there. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and do this. So part 2, common mistakes. Let's show you guys the U-turn mistake. So here you go. We're not going to turn our heads. Not turning the head. Not turning the head. Oh, and look, we went wide. And we left the box. So we failed. So a big thing people do is they don't turn their head. So make sure you turn your head. Again, on the 90-degree turn, if you don't turn your head. Or you give it too much gas. That can happen. You run wide. Go outside the box. Instant fail. So once again, let's do it the right way really quick, and then we'll go ahead and move to part 3. So the right way, turn your head, come over here. I'm getting entry speed, turning my head, and then stopping in the white box. Front tire only. If your front tire hits any of these white lines, that's a couple points. If you hit any of those cones in the 90-degree, a couple points. And if you go wide on the U-turn and you cross the blue line, that can also be a few points. All right, let's go line up for part 3 of the state test. So here we go. Part 3, you line up on this T outside of the box. Just like this. All right, let's shut the bike off. We're just going to show you guys what this is going to look like before I do it. So parts 3 and 4, they both start on this T outside the box. And what happens is they're timed exercises. So that's what this yellow line is right here. Yellow line. That one is where they start the stopwatch. Click. So you're going to take off from the T. You're going to want to get up to about 15 miles per hour. They say about 15 to 20. They might tell you 18 to 25 at the DMV. It kind of just depends on which DMV you take it at. But if you make it up to 15, that's pretty good. Now what's going to happen is there's going to be these 2 green cones. As soon as you see these in your peripheral vision, and you don't want to really do it too soon because you're timed, you're going to roll off, and then you're going to go for your brakes. So do your braking sequence. There's these white tick marks. These are what you're stopping for. It's called the quick stop. So this blue line means nothing. Forget about this blue line for part 3. That's part 4. So part 3 is these white tick marks. So roll off the throttle there, begin braking sequence. If you're going about 15 miles per hour, you're going to stop right around this area somewhere. That's kind of what you're going for. If you're going too slow and you stop here, or you start braking early, or you roll off early, that can be bad. They can send you back and you can get a redo. And you don't get too many of those. So you really don't want to get a redo. You want to make sure you're going at least 15 miles per hour. All right, let's do it. Hop on. All right, let's go. So, one little tip I like to tell people is you can kind of like get the RPMs up a little bit if they're afraid of stalling. Roll off, brakes, clutch, downshift, left foot, right foot. There's no shift in that. I just like to say downshift as a fact of habit. So, there it is. There is no shifting on the state test. Believe it or not, you don't have to shift at all to take this test. And the state test examiners, they don't care how you do things. They only care about them getting done, to be honest. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm not gonna show you guys the wrong things, because what the wrong things are grabbing the brakes too hard. If you grab the brakes too hard, you're gonna crash your bike. If you crash your bike, that's obviously an instant fail because you've lost control. So you don't want to lose control of your bike. So don't grab the front brakes. Remember, brakes are always smooth. They start soft. If you transfer that weight forward, you're gonna be safe. Don't worry. So let's go ahead. We're gonna take off again. Take off. Roll off. Okay, and then if you go about that fast, you'll be around this area somewhere. The examiner is gonna come up to you. You're gonna wait right here, and they're probably gonna write some notes down, or maybe not. And then they'll tell you, all right, go line them back up at the same tee. So let's go line up at the same tee. This is when it's okay. When the examiner says it's okay to leave the box, it's okay. So we're gonna go ahead and line up for part 4. So part 4, let's just look at it on the bike. Part 4, it's the same tee as part 3, but here's the difference. The blue line with the orange cones, that's now what we're paying attention to. So we're forgetting about the white tick marks. That blue line is what's important. This is called the swerve. So once again, you're going to want to get your speed up to about 15 miles per hour. The reason for that is because, once again, this exercise is timed. So you want to get up to about 15 miles per hour. As soon as you see the green cones in your peripheral, you're going to roll off the throttle, and then you're going to swerve. Now this swerve can sometimes be in either direction, and some DMVs only do to the right side, some only do to the left side. So it really does depend on where you're going to go, so I'm going to do it to both sides. Once again, take off. If you're worried about stalling, like I said, you want to maybe just cheat a little bit and give yourself some RPMs. The reason I say don't worry about stalling is because stalling is also cumulative points, just like cones and putting your feet down. And that's 11. You only have a couple stalls until you fail the state test. Okay, so let's go ahead and take off. So like I said, cheat a little bit, take off, staying in first gear, roll off the throttle, press, come to a complete stop. You want to come to a complete stop before the yellow line. Your front tire can actually pass for some examiners. Some are more weird about it than others, because they all like have little different things, and that's okay. But that's just so you guys know. So I'll show you guys to the left. One trick I like to say is, if I'm gonna swerve to the left, I'm gonna stay to the right side of the little white line of the chute. That I like to call it the chute, where those green cones are. So I'm gonna stay to the right, and you'll see. I'll explain why that's important in just a second. So get the RPMs up, take off up to about 15 miles per hour, roll off, press. Okay, now why is it important that you don't hit any of the cones in the swerve? So we have these 2 sets of cones. The reason why it's very important that you don't hit any of those cones is because that's an instant fail. And the reason why is because they view that as the back of a car, and you're swerving to get out of the way. And if you can't do that, then that's considered an instant fail. So just for you guys, real quick, I'm going to ride each part of the state test very quickly, and then that's going to be the end of this video. So I gave you guys a brief explanation of each part, things that can fail you on the state test. Let's do a quick ride through of each part, just so you guys can see it. So part 1, cone weave offset starting to the right. Another pro tip, don't look at the cones. You'll just run right over them. Stop with the front tire in the white box. Examiner comes over, then he tells you, all right, go to part 2. Let's leave the box. I'm gonna come around at part 2. Alright, you want to make sure your tires lined up nicely on this tee. Take off. Remember, big head turns. And then when you're coming over here, once again, another big head turn. You really want to make sure it's a big head turn. And then stopping with your front tire in the white box. Examiner will come over, say a few things, maybe not. Maybe they'll just say go to part 3. Okay, let's go to part 3. Alright, part 3, remember this is the quick stop. So let's get ready for that. Alright, front tires lined up. I'm going to cheat a little bit, take off, get up to 15 miles per hour, roll off, come to a complete stop. Alright, great. Let's line up for part 4. Examiner says, alright, go to part 4. Alright, let's do it. Outside of this box, it's okay to walk it a little bit. If it helps for your friction zone, you can go ahead and give it a few steps here. You really don't want to do more than like 2, because then they get weird about it. So this is the part 4. This is the swerve, another timed one. So let's get our RPMs up, cheat a little bit. I'm going to go to the right, so I'm going to stay to the left, roll off, press. And there's your entire state test. So there you go, everyone. Here's our state test box. I'm Steve. This is at Ride Chicago's Toyota Park location. You guys can see that over here. We're a motorcycle training school in Chicago. We have this location, our south side location, and we also have our north side location, which is right behind United Center. So if you guys haven't heard of us, definitely come check us out. This has been the state test of Illinois. Thank you guys, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Alright, peace out. So as I'm packing up, I just wanted to share a few final thoughts about the state test with you guys. So, state test. If you're taking it on your own at the DMV, there's going to be a couple things that are going to be different than what I told you. One thing that might be different is that they might switch parts 1 and 2. So they like to do that a lot. From my experiences at the DMV, they like to change specifically part 1 and 2, but you never know what they're going to start you with. So any of those parts can be switched. Don't let that throw you off. Some other things that you're going to want to take notes of, that every examiner is a little different. So some examiners are going to be pretty nice to you guys, and some might even let you get away with more things than others. Some are going to be the opposite. So some are going to be kind of more, more rude to you. Some are going to be, let's just say, interesting. So I've seen some very interesting things at the DMV, but I'm not going to go into exactly what they are. Last couple things, if you take our class here at Ride Chicago, we will teach you the state tests. We'll go over it it'll be the last hour of our basic licensing class, and we also do offer private lessons for you guys. So you can go ahead and check those out. Those are all over at ridechicago.com, and I'll make sure to link that in the description. If there's any questions, please go ahead and leave a comment. We'd love to answer those questions if you have them, and anything we can do to help people get their motorcycle license, that's what we're trying to do. And also, if there's any past students here, go ahead and leave a like. If you're not a past student, go ahead and leave a like anyway. So that's all I got for you guys. So final thoughts on the state test. They could be in any order. Whatever the DMV pleases, just listen to the examiner and just try not to be nervous. The number one thing I see mistakes happen are from people being nervous about the state test. So try not to be nervous about it and just do your best. Alright, signing out. Steve from Ride Chicago. Go check out our website. See you guys.